Hello and welcome to the New World Review, your source for everything anime and manga, and today, Demon Slayer. Just Demon Slayer. So I've recently watched episode 19 and I don't know what this video is. It's not like a review or any kind of analysis. It's more of a stream of consciousness. And yes, I know I'm very late to this party, but I also don't really care. Now, a whole ton of you commented on episode 19 in my first impressions video, hoping that I would make it that far, and telling me that it would somewhat blow my mind. And you guys weren't exactly wrong. Which is particularly impressive because after all of the comments, I went into episode 19 expecting something pretty big to happen, and what I saw still very much exceeded my expectations. And look, initially what I wanted to do was title this video something like the greatest fight in anime history, you know, something nice and clickbaity, but also arguably true, because that sort of thing is almost entirely subjective anyway. However, when I took a step back, I realized that such a title would be doing episode 19 a grave injustice because it's not just about the fight, because this entire episode was just beautifully constructed, allowing that one particular moment to shine. And the key thing that allows everything to work is one word, that word being family. Having come this far into the series, I've begun to realize that part of the charm Demon Slayer presents is through this concept, because it's actually very rarely explored in a shonen series, many of which feature a young male protagonist with no familial ties, presumably to make their call to adventure much easier to accept and to not have too many realistic complications bulking down an action-adventure story. But what many writers would see as a narrative restriction, Demon Slayer chooses to put great emphasis on, and in my opinion is a core factor that has allowed episode 19 to transcend itself. Because here's the thing. On paper, this episode should have infuriated me, and that's because our young and still relatively inexperienced protagonist managed to get the better of one of the 12 Kizuki, or 12 Demon Moons, whatever you prefer, but in any case, they are a group that have been built up thus far to be second only to Michael Jackson Demon himself. There is nothing that should have allowed Tanjiro to overcome such a beast at his current level, and anything that did would be poor shonen storytelling. At least that's what I would have thought before seeing this episode. In fact, during the entire thing, I was expecting Gyu to show up and save Tanjiro, and that only actually stopped when Tanjiro engaged in his Hinokami thingo. And that's when I went, no, he's not actually going to beat him, is he? That would be one of the biggest ass pulls in anime history, surely. Of course, at the time, I really didn't care if that was going to be the case, because my god, this anime is just so stunning. The fire animation is every bit as mesmerizing as the water I love so much, and they've done a fantastic job of making it feel more volatile and just plain more powerful, which allows me to accept what's happening even if my brain doesn't feel quite right about it. But once again, on paper, this is a simple power-up. It's a classic shonen protagonist comes up against an insurmountable power and has to rapidly evolve during battle to overcome it. Except that it isn't. Because there's another complication, in that it's not just one power-up, it's two. Because the other part of this equation that my mind had all but forgotten until now was Nezuko. Thus far, she spent the series being Tanjiro's driving force and somewhat relevant in combat, but nothing approaching what happens here when she activates her blood demon art. After that happened, I felt entirely satisfied. There's just something so wonderful in gaining power through familial bonds, because Tanjiro achieved this assumedly through their father, whilst Nezuko is awakened by their mother. And then it's like the bonds of a whole family coming together to overcome Rui, which is just such poetic justice as well, because Rui has spent his demonic career trying to mimic these bonds only to be beaten by the very thing that he seeks. And at this time, I should also point out that the anime doesn't deserve complete credit for this, because it was assumedly all faithfully adapted from the manga, where these wonderful ideas were laid out. However, the way it was portrayed in motion, to me, epitomizes my love for this medium, and the absurd amount of potential it has to elevate an already stunning story when implemented correctly. And I may still be on a high from just having watched it recently, but I would legitimately call the final 2 minutes of episode 19 one of my favorite anime moments of all time. Everything about it is perfect, from the motion of the movement, which slides skillfully between spectacularly fast and spellbindingly slow. And you know what? It almost comes across as a perfectly choreographed dance with the music. And the music, my god. Here's another thing that out of context I never would have thought would work so well. If you'd played me that song and told me, look, this is what we're going to use for the most climactic battle of the series so far, then I would have severely questioned your sanity. However, in this context, it works so damn well, because its more subdued and emotionally focused nature only goes to serve the idea of family and to add that intimate energy which is very much needed to make this moment 100% convincing. Plus, what the song lacks in pure oomph is more than made up for with the sound effects of the action on screen, which more often than not follow their own musical nature. So there's this incredible juxtaposition of soft warmth with desperate action that really should not work anywhere near as well as it does. But of course, my favorite moment is the impact. This is a masterclass of how objects should collide in anime. Both the force and resistance look perfect, the sound is glorious, and the particle animation really sells the sheer power emanating from the strike, making it all the more believable when Nezuko's blood demon art goes off again and results in the decapitation. And then of course there's this moment of beauty. In all of my many years, I have never seen a more stunning decapitation, and after this I had to immediately go to the manga. I needed to know exactly how much of this action was mandated by what was on the page, and what the anime had taken into its own hands to elevate. And the answer is, after seeing episode 19, I was honestly disappointed with what I saw in what I think was chapter 40 of the manga. And you might be saying that it's probably really not fair to compare the manga to any anime adaptation, but there are certainly series out there whose manga greatly outshines its anime counterpart. From what I've seen, I don't think this is one of those circumstances, but you know what, it's not fair to judge the manga based solely on the comparison with this godlike anime scene. And having gotten this far into the series, I do plan on reading the manga once the anime has concluded. Still, this episode is without a doubt a crowning achievement of 2019, and full credit to Ufotable for crafting this masterwork. And that pretty much does it for whatever this was. If you enjoyed this video and the content this channel produces in general, then please do consider donating to the New World Review Patreon, because the support of all of you amazing people is what continues to make this channel possible. And if Patreon isn't quite your style, then please do leave this video a like, share, or subscribe, because it also helps support this channel an incredible amount. And if you'd like to join the fun at any time, then please do head over to my Discord server, where a wide array of shenaniganry takes place on a daily basis. And finally, please do comment with your thoughts on Demon Slayer episode 19. This has been the New World Review, and I'll see you next time.